Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise DiGrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Hey, welcome back. We're in season 3 here on Mav's Coffee Clarity, and we could not be prouder to share with you that we're going to keep it going. Think of this show like coffee with your sharpest friend. Unedited and very human. And we're learning as we go along too. I spend most of my time in business consulting and speaking, and I love this podcast because I get to use what I'm learning with my clients, what I'm helping them with, and what I'm seeing as trends in our world. So I share my maverick wisdom with you, but when it's not just me, I interview some mavericks in their own right. Change makers, entrepreneurs, business owners. And they share not only how they did it, but the silver linings after their fiascos. Because let's face it, at any part or point in your life, we are in constant decision making, right? We're pivoting here, we're pivoting there. Sometimes change chooses us. Sometimes we change. Sometimes we change. Sometimes we choose change. So, Mav's Coffee Clarity, we share business and life strategy designed to help you move forward. We don't dispense advice. We hope you listen in, you pick what resonates, and it somehow gives you a fresh perspective. Find us wherever you listen to your favorite pods and on Substack and YouTube. And in the show notes, you can learn more about my consulting and speaking services or go to DeniseDiGrigoli.com. But do it after the show because I've always got something really great to share with you, and we're in short format, so I appreciate you listening to the end. All right, today I want to talk about the art of the pivot. And sometimes when we're in a pivot or a life's transition, and it could be at any age or stage in our career. You know I'm a big believer in the multi-generational workforce, so this really is for everybody. We've got to make a decision, and there's a fork in the road. I don't see, even if change chooses you, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as an opportunity and possibility. Can you get in the flow and go with it? Hey, now I, have been old school. Stick with it. Persevere. You made a goal. In the old days, my grandma would say, hey, you made your bed, lie in it. Okay, not that dramatic, and nor do I believe that. But I do believe when you set goals, you want to try to obtain them. And often it's the darkest before the dawn. And sometimes we give up too soon. But what if we aren't giving up too soon? What if really that pivot or that life's transition is thrown upon us for whatever reason, or we need to choose it for whatever reason? How do we ride that bumpy road? Or does it have to be bumpy? Can we see the possibilities in it? That's what I want to talk to you about today, is the art of pivoting. So I'm busy, I'm busy speaking, consulting, and this podcast, and family, and my creative pursuits. And again, some people ask me, are you for real? Yeah, last time I checked, I am. And I like to do things that motivate me. So it doesn't mean you have to do as many things that I do to be successful. I mean, success is defined by each person. So it's not about the amount of time, the amount of money, the amount of things, the amount of influencers. It's about how you feel about you. And when you're going into a pivot, or if you want to be prepared for a transition or a pivot, being aware of your own energy is so incredibly important. What do I mean by that? Well, if you always default to what someone else wants you to do, or you live your life by a set of codes that aren't really yours. And you know when they're not yours because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel natural. You don't have the ambition to wake up every day and say, oh, I'm glad to meet the day. Now, listen, of course, we all have off days where we don't want to meet the day. But in general, if it's draining you and it's not aligning with who you are or how you feel, then it might not be for you, whether it's a job or relationship or even the vacation plans you made 2 years ago that you thought were a good idea. The art of the pivot is this, I think, for me, being aware of my energy. If my energy feels off or drained, then I know that something's amiss. If I'm really pushing myself to show up, the energy might be amiss. Now, if you're doing business planning and you need to keep pivoting for whatever the reason is, that's different. Maybe you're refining a product, a service, a business, starting a business, revamping a business, or couldn't this apply to even relationships? I'm revamping that relationship. It really comes down to how you feel. Now, feelings definitely inform us. Sometimes, our feelings change minute by minute, day by day, especially if you listen to the news too much or you do the doom scroll on social media. How do you know when you're in the art of the pivot that you're moving in the right direction? Well, a pivot, like I said, isn't a failure. It's an opportunity. So can you be okay with if you take that left direction and go down that road, you'll see where you go. And you'll determine if you want to stay in that direction because you can always pivot again. I think knowledge and awareness are two key skills. Well, knowledge is a skill. What do I mean? Being a lifelong learner, being open to possibilities, keeping yourself relevant, learning new things. And awareness is just being tuned into who you are. That's en route to reinvention or a pivot. So the art of the pivot for me is getting quiet, finding time to look inward, see what's important, see how I feel about it based on who I am today. There's been many plans that I thwarted. Actually, the truth is, I've lived out many business plans beyond what should have been their expiration date, right? I've started and stopped many businesses. And when I look back over the history, I would say I should have maybe stopped a little bit sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have wasted as much money and or time. But then the other side of me might say, well, what did I learn? Because every time I learn through a pivot and a transition, I'm better the next time. And as John Dewey would say, we don't learn from the actual experience. We learn by reflecting on it. So I spend a lot of time in reflection every single morning, and I tell my clients that too. How does it feel? Not what does it cost? What does it create? What do you, if you're up against the wall and you're making a decision, what's it going to cost? What's it going to create? I think these are important questions. And I always tell people when I'm coaching them, especially when we're in sales training, when you're asking questions, you're gaining more knowledge. When you gain more knowledge, you make better decisions. And be okay with making a decision that doesn't serve you down the road, right? That's how we learn. Mav's Coffee Clarity. We seek to spill the beans on wisdom with a little wit. We've got a star-studded lineup for this third season. We are going to be in short format as always. The reason for that is we hope you'll listen to the end. Again, when podcasts started off, they were hour-long shows. Some people even go longer than an hour. And I'm not going to necessarily say we're in short format because, we're our TED Talks are 20 minutes and tweets are less than 200 characters. I'm going to say because we want to give you the best of what we have. We know you're busy. We know you're creative. We know you're in change. We know you've got other things to do. So if we've given you a piece of information that can help you move forward or feel fresher today or feel lighter or give you something that'll open a pathway to somewhere else, well, then we've done our job. So season 3, I'm going to make it as jam-packed as I can with fun stuff, humorous conversations. Me, when I don't have anyone here, I have studios in Massachusetts and Connecticut, and of course we record on Zoom, and we love to go on location. I don't know if you've looked at some of our back shows from season 2, and I don't know if you know, we won Best in the state of Connecticut through the Connecticut Press Club for Best Podcast. So thankful to all of you that write in, that follow my newsletter. We do send out an e-newsletter that's a little bit different than this podcast. You can go to DeniseDiGrigoli.com and sign up for it. I just try to share what I'm learning because I have been in business 30 years. I've definitely made mistakes. I've definitely had my triumphs. I've had my silver linings after my fiascos. And it's so important. It's so important to share. I'm a firm believer. Well, you've heard me say it before. We don't should, SHOULD, on each other. We share. I don't like the word but. I like the word yet. And my grandmother would say, you can't be a success until you help other people be a success. So that's why I'm sharing, my friends. That's why I'm keeping it going. That's why I think it's important for you to give me your feedback on the topics you want to know more about. And if you know somebody fabulous that should be on the show, by all means. We are working with some new sponsors this season. We're going to be having some educational events, so stay tuned. There's a lot happening at Mavs Coffee Clarity with Denise. I'm so thankful for you. You're listening, you're sharing. Write into me, sign up for the e-news, and peace out, my friends. Mav's got to get to a networking event tonight. I'm going to some educational seminar. I'll tell you more about it later. Thanks again.